Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I've got a slightly different thing that I'm going to do today. We're going to go and look at a video. I've done an interview with a guy called Mark Moreland, a friend of mine from my club. And Mark and his wife Ming, along with a few other people, are the people that in the background keep all the major shows in this country going. And actually is the founder of UKBA, UK Bonsai Association, and also is the one that started up the Heathrow Bonsai Show. So a very interesting guy, very cool little garden they've got. So yeah, I'm going to let you watch that and we'll get back to you.
My name's Mark Moreland, and I've been asked to just tell you a little bit about the journey that my wife and me have been on with bonsai and basically UKBA and the shows, etc. We first got into bonsai about 15 years ago, and we joined our local club, Middlesex Bonsai Club. We shortly after that joined Surrey Heath Club at the same time. Middlesex Bonsai Club were running a very successful show, and the club basically was on a little bit of a decline, like a lot of clubs have been. And the show, because of the high costs of hiring the barn in Ruislip, came to a natural halt. At the same time, in 2007, we visited Taiwan, and we'd been to Taiwan before we were into bonsai, but didn't quite realise how much bonsai there was there. And once we were engaged with the hobby, we realised there was bonsai everywhere in Taiwan. And we, every time we go out there, every year we go out there, see Ming's family who live in Taipei, and to visit all the traders and clubs. There's just so much bonsai in Taiwan. In 2007, when we were there, we were at an ASBAC show, Asian Pacific Bonsai Show, and we had a conversation with various people, and we had a thought about starting up a new show in the UK. We came back to the UK and decided to start up the Heathrow show. Basically, at the time I was working and I was a scout leader, and I had access to a scout hall, so seemed straight away that was the place to start, because I got the hall for nothing. And we started on a very small scale. In 2009 was the first Heathrow show. There were 3 clubs involved. There was Middlesex, Surrey Heath, the 2 clubs we belong to, and Swindon Club joined us, who have been very supportive on the whole journey that we've been on. That show then went on every year, and it gradually expanded. We went 3 clubs, 6 clubs, 9 clubs, 18 clubs. The Scout Hall became too small. We bought some gala tents, we covered the grass with tentage. Eventually there was no room to expand at that location, so we moved to the local school, where we were able to expand it up to 24 clubs or so. The Heathrow show has just carried on expanding, and gone from location to location as we've expanded. Advertising and publication of the Heathrow, we found that there wasn't anything in the UK that seemed to be pushing bonsai, advertising it and bringing the community together as a community. So we started up in 2018 the UK Bonsai Association, with the idea of bringing the whole community together, traders, everything to do with bonsai in the UK. The first thing, I think the key thing we did, was to make the organisation free, so that anyone interested in bonsai, whatever money you got in your pocket, you could join it and you could get the information about the clubs, the shows, everything there is to know. That's worked well, but then we started to get a few costs that, as we've developed with a website, with emailing the bulletin out, we've got more and more costs. But luckily for us, the Heathrow has become more and more successful. That covers our expenses of running the UKBA. One key person, Brian Walling, I will mention him. He's been with us on the journey with the Heathrow show from the very, very beginning. And Steve Hale has been a key player. We approached Steve that, you know, we had this successful club show, the Heathrow show. What about something for individuals? Because we were getting constant inquiries from individuals outside the club system. Can I bring my trees along to the Heathrow show and display them? And we would say, if you don't belong to a club, you can't. You have to belong to a club, a group, to display at the Heathrow show. We decided to set up Expo, which is for individual trees only. So we were catering, we then had two shows, catering for individuals and catering for the clubs. We built the backing for the shows, the Heathrow show, based on an old Scout store tent, the pole system. And we expanded on that over the years. We bought gradually more material in the early days, putting it, expanding it so the whole thing is easily, there's no screws or anything involved. It's slot together poles with cloths over the top. So in the case of the Heathrow Club show, we have enough to do 36 four-table displays with the back two table rows lifted, as most of you have experienced, or I think it's 96 individual trees in the Expo show. We came up with some very simple ways of lifting the tables, basically metal poles that were cut and fit over the yard-hire table legs, the trestle tables, and we raised them. We had to have extended cloths when we raised the tables in order that they hit the floor. So we built up a lot of hardware. We acquired a lot of stuff from different people. Large wheels, we've made up trolleys, which are very handy for the shows. The shows are all one day, so we need to move people in and out of the hall, traders and exhibitors, as quickly as efficiently as possible. So we made up these 6 large trolleys for moving things around. That works fantastically. One of the most important things we found in the early days of the show was, how do you get people to the show? General public, people that are not members, so they wouldn't see the bulletin. They don't know they like bonsai till we get them in the room, and then they hook up and they want to start the hobby in bonsai. As high as 80% in the early days of the Heathrow show, when we had like 400 people coming through the door, you might say more than 300 were basically there because they saw signs. They were out driving and see the sign, and they're inquisitive because there's not that many bonsai shows. And so the signage, we started ploughing money into the signs. As we've moved locations, we've had to buy new ones, develop them, but we've also got, just as we've invested in the staging and the signs, it's all been done in such a way that the signs can be used year in, year out. The signs also are used by other clubs and other shows. So everything we have at the UKBA in storage, which is in our garage, is used by other people at different places. And in fact, I think there's now 4 shows that use literally everything that's UKBA. So it's not just the Heathrow, and it's not just the K2 shows that we are supplying hardware for and making things happen. Additional to the 2 shows, the we've done a few auctions. I think we've done 3 or 4 auctions now. It's something we are looking to establish on a more regular basis, perhaps a little further north up the country, somewhere where when people want to get rid of their trees, it's an ideal place for selling them and for people to buy new trees. That's something we might do in the future. The K2 show is very successful. Steve Hale does a tremendous job with trying to make it top quality, the trees that are going into it. The UKBA, Brian, Ming and myself provide everything, the backup, the whole thing, but Steve purely looks after you know, the quality of the trees, pushing that on year by year, and he's doing a fantastic job. And I think this year is number 4 coming up, which is the longest running individuals show quality that I've known in nearly 18 years or whatever of doing bonsai. So we're very happy with that. Very good quality for people from around the world to look at. The Heathrow show, in the opposite vein, is basically a fun show. So the tree selection for that is all done by the clubs individually. We provide the space to exhibit, and the clubs provide the trees, stands and accessories, but it's all down to the club to choose what they want to put up there, which is fantastic, because all clubs of various levels, various people in the club, and it allows beginners and long enthusiasts of many years to put trees onto that stand and get the kick out of showing trees. And there's no real judging other than a public vote. The K2 show is a much more serious event, and there's awards, etc., etc. They're run very differently, but basically the formula, the back into it, is exactly the same. Both shows, our aim is to make a little bit of money, but not a fortune. So what we charge the traders per table to be there, or the money to come through the door for the event, is geared as low as we can to encourage as many of the traders there and as many people to come through the door. We feel that we've got that just about right, and the one-day shows keeps everything as cheap as anything. We wouldn't think of moving the shows, as successful as they've been, to a 2-day formula, because the 2-day formula is another animal and just wouldn't financially work. The UK gradually is getting busier and busier on the bonsai side. Some of the clubs are expanding, and we hope that the UKBA, some of the things we've done, is helping with that, the revival of the bonsai community. It has, or does seem to have been, the last 15 years, 18 years, on a steady decline in places, but it seems to be fighting back now. Even though we do have a few areas, few clubs that are struggling, there are clubs that are doing very well now, and we're on the up. And a lot of the shows since COVID are getting record numbers of people attending them, which is great news. I think we all wish that COVID hadn't interrupted with the flow of things, because we might be somewhere else right now. But we are where we are, and we will just keep pushing forward with the UKBA, trying to get everybody in the community working more together, connected in every way, and bigger clubs, bigger events, more people doing bonsai. It's all good for the future. Myself, on a personal level, up until COVID, I worked and I was a scout leader, and that took a lot of time up. Any of you know what scouting's about. Since COVID, I've given up the scouting, I've retired, so my wife and myself we can dedicate so much to the UKBA and pushing it along. Ming has been the absolute foundation stone. When we went into setting UKBA up, I knew nothing about websites or a lot of to do with the computer. I think a lot of people my age have come on a long way, especially since COVID. And now, you know, thankfully for her teaching me, I can do much of the website stuff independently on my own. Now, coming out of COVID, I've got a lot more time to do things. Even though the UKBA probably takes a couple of hours every day on the computer to do stuff, I've done more with trees in the last 2 years, 3 years through COVID and coming out since I gave up scouting and work than I have all the time before. I've got a collection of bigger trees. Over the years I've realised that as you get older, the bigger trees become harder to move around and you're better off with smaller stuff. And that also at shows and exhibitions, there's never, when I visit Taiwan, there's rows and rows of shohin and mame at the shows. And anything we do here in the UK, let's say Expo, Swindon, you don't find rows and lots of it. You know, you get 5, 6 presentations, displays. That's my area that I'm moving into is the smaller trees, the concepts of displaying them correctly. I'm trying to learn that. It's all for me, gaining knowledge off of people in the UK that are so, you know, most people in the UK are so pleased to pass information on to you, and I'm trying to absorb as much of it as possible about the growing of small trees and showing and displaying them. I hope more people will have a go at the little ones in the future, because that's the area we seem to lack so much of in the UK. Everybody has 1 or 2, but not as many as we should be having.
If you haven't already, I would highly recommend that you go and sign up to the email that comes from Mark and Ming, the UKBA, and that way you can find out everything that's going on all across the country at any time. It's a really useful bit of information and definitely worth signing up for. So I hope you can all appreciate now the sort of effort that goes into making Heathrow happen, K2, Expo, and now you know why you're paying the money on the door. I think it's all worth it. You know, there's a lot of work that these guys do that really they should be paid more, but you know, he keeps the prices low just so that you guys aren't paying too much. But yeah, I've got maximum respect for all of them. It's very kind of them to let me in their garden and have a little look around as well. And if you like the video, could you just hit the like button for me? And if you haven't subscribed already, if you could subscribe, that would be awesome. Thanks to everyone that already follows me, and I will catch you again next week. Take care.